We talking about practice. Not a game, not a game. We talking about practice. Practice, man. I mean, how silly is that?
Just a bit outside.
Oh my, he's on fire!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Flip Side Podcast. We are back for our final Cover 3 edition of the 2020-2021 football season. We've been wildly successful. If you've been following along, over 58% for both the regular season and the playoffs. And it all comes down to this. It is the big one. It's the Super Bowl. I am joined by Tyler Hayward, host of Trouble with the Snap podcast, where you go for all of your Big Ten, college basketball, football, field hockey, whatever news. I believe that we're going to be on different sides of this one, and I know Tyler has a man crush on one side. I have a bit of a man crush on the other side, but we're going to break down a couple props as well. So, Tyler, thank you for joining us as always. And how you feeling?
Feeling good. Obviously, looking forward to the Super Bowl. Hopefully it comes quick because, you said I host Trouble with Snap. I really don't want to talk about Michigan State getting throttled by Iowa tonight. And so I'm really looking forward to this, kind of take my mind off some things. And look, I think it's going to be such a good match. I can't wait. I don't think we've ever seen quarterbacks this talented on both sides of the ball. In this game together, and it's just going to be special to watch.
Yeah, and there's, as usual, there's the props that'll come out, the obsolete props, the color of the Gatorade, the color body armor, whatever they decide to use. But we are not messing around with those. Those are anybody's guess. Last year, 2 years ago, I think it was, when Beyonce performed halftime, I bet that her shoes would be clear. They were 40-1 odds. Obviously, she did not wear clear shoes because she's not Cinderella. But
she did trip.
Yeah, and so we don't have any of those props. I don't know if that's because people don't know how halftime shows are going to go or what the deal is. We're sticking with strictly in-game props. And why don't you kick it off with your first prop bet that you like for this big one, since we'll probably get sued if we say Super Bowl.
You got something in your throat there. You might need to check that. Might be the Rona. But no, my first pick, as far as the prop bets go, I'm going with Ronald Jones over 48.5 yards.
Curveballed me.
Oh, sorry, Leonard Fournette. Wow.
There we go.
I got sidetracked there.
You just made me crumble up my research for a minute.
Yeah, no, Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette's just been on a tear lately. The Chiefs' rush defense has not been very good. You sent me a stat the other day, giving up like over 5 yards a carry.
That was last night.
Everything just kind of blends together. Like I said, I'm just trying to get to Super Bowl.
Yeah, I work nights. I get it.
But Fournette's been on a tear. You sent it to me last night, though. The Chiefs giving up over like 5 yards to carry through the first three quarters. I think that's what they're going to try to do again. You saw how the first game went between these two teams. Tampa just started. They looked like they were about ready to fall flat on their face. I think they're going to do what they can to try to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands early, and then allow that running game to set up a big player, 3 from Godwin, Evans, Scotty Miller, doesn't matter which weapon it is for Tom Brady. And so I think that that's a pretty safe bet. I like I like the way Fournette's been running the ball. The problem is a guy like Ronald Jones can sneak in there, and if he's a hot hand, that's who they'll roll with. But he targeted a lot of the carries early in the season. Throughout the postseason, it's been Fournette. Part of it's because Jones has been dinged up a little bit, but I think that's an easy number to take.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the year, I said that I drafted Fournette in our fantasy league, and you laughed and said Ronald Jones is going to be the starter, and I said no way. You were absolutely right throughout the season. However,
and who did draft Ronald Jones in that, by the way?
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Neither one of us went home with hardware, so it doesn't matter.
Alvin Kamara sucks.
So not so much. So throughout the playoffs, though, we've seen not only statistically, but if you just watch, Leonard Fournette looks like the Leonard Fournette that got drafted really high out of LSU. In his 3 games so far in the playoffs, he's amassed 55 yards, 63 yards, and 93 yards. So his over-under being 48.5 against a mediocre run defense is a solid bet. But as you know, think people change game plans in the Super Bowl, and we'll see who gets the load. I do expect to see a little bit of Shady McCoy just because kind of the James Harrison effect. I feel like Tampa kind of knew what we all kind of thought. They kind of knew that they were going to run into this, and they brought in somebody that knows this offense. So we might see a little bit of Shady McCoy, but do we know? I haven't looked at an updated injury report. Is Antonio Brown playing?
I believe that he is. I've not seen any updates. I mean, I just assumed it was a guarantee that he was going to play after he sat out last week. But yeah, I think that number's safe. The only reason why it wouldn't be safe is if Kansas City scores on their first 2 possessions of the game. If they score on their first if Kansas City scores on their first 2 possessions, obviously trying to play catch up, you're going to throw the ball. You have the weapons to do it. You have you have a quarterback who has a little bit of experience in the Super Bowl. I think that you obviously just jump to him. That would be my only concern with that number, is that it may get out of hand too quick. But at the same time, I do like Tampa's defense a little better than I did earlier in the year. And so I think, like I said, it's a safe bet.
Yeah, this Tampa defense is absolutely loaded, and we will get to another piece of that defense here in a minute when I get to my final prop. But I am going to go for my first prop. I'm going to go under 56.5. Look, first of all, when I first saw the over under on this was 56.5, I almost choked. Like I thought it's somebody saw it on the screen and read it to me, and I thought just out of habit, out of common sense, I thought they meant 46.5, which would have been logical. 56.5 is huge, and a lot of games throughout the season go 47 to 51. This one is set at 56.5. I don't know if that has to do with, the Barstool crowd having their T-shirts made for bet the over. And betting the over is much more fun. Trust me, because when you're betting on either team to score, it makes the game more fun. When you're betting on 3 and outs, it's not as fun. But 56.5, that's a crazy number. And that's a crazy number because we've seen – over the past 16 Super Bowls, we've seen 3 of them go over that number. And those 3 did not have defenses close to what these 2 teams are bringing to the field this Sunday. 56.5 is huge. I think it goes under this by about 15 to 20. I don't think this is a high-scoring game. And even if it's a high-scoring game, it still could go under. I mean, that's 56.5 is 30 to 26. 31-27, you win. I don't think it gets there. I think both these teams are going to try and I definitely think Tampa's going to try and run the ball, but I couldn't believe this number, and I'm all over 56.5 under.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm right there with you because it kind of ties into, my first one is I think Tampa's going to try to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. You do that,
Yep.
you run the ball effectively, and then it just completely opens. Then eventually it will open things up, and it might get a little sketchy at the end, but I think Tampa's going to do enough damage on the ground early. I think that it's a situation where they'll be able to milk that clock, and then look, they have a reliable defense, and so I think that it's something that's I'm definitely going with the under on that one.
Yeah, that 56. That's insane. Like, I mean, you don't see college games. You see a Washington State versus UCLA be 65 or Hawaii be 65, and those are aired out, no defense, Big 12 type games. And for this to be professional defenses, I mean, Todd Bowles, Spagnuolo, the 56.5. If it goes over, you no harm done. Kudos to them. But if you're putting your money on it, and if you have to bet in a total, there's no way you take the over in this game.
No. Nope. But I mean, there is a little bit of a reason why you might. There's logic into why you might. Ultimately, though, it's not the best bet. It's not the safest play when it comes to your money. And what part of that's my second prop bet, which is I got Tyreek Hill going over 91.5. My reasoning for that, look at his targets over the last couple weeks. Him and Kelsey, first pair of teammates to in the same playoff, have matching 100-yard games twice. And just look what Tyreek Hill did to Tampa in the regular season. He was on pace for 1,000 yards early in the first quarter. He was lighting them up. Finished. Oh, I don't even remember what he finished at. It was well over 200 though, and I think that because he had over 200 in the first quarter, but I think he finished like 264. But I think that you look at his usage, and he's like a running back after he catches that ball. You catch a little screen pass or whatever, and he can turn a 2-yard loss into a 40-yard gain. I think that. I think they're going to continue to go to him. I don't know if they're going to do it at the rate that they did in the first game because I feel like it would be a little too expected. But when it comes time to make plays and you got to stretch the field a little bit, that's who you're going to. And so I'm going Tyreek Hill with the over 91.5.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill, he's one of those players. It could be the best secondary in the world, which it just might be. But I mean, you got those little until they change the rule, those push passes, those screens that go to him that he turns into 30, 40-yard gains. In his first two playoff games, his only two playoff games this year, he's gone for 172 and 110. And he went for the 110 against Cleveland. Patrick Mahomes passed for 225 yards. Tyreek Hill had half of them. So it's not crazy that, I mean, it's never a bad idea to pick the over on somebody when, especially somebody like Tyreek Hill, when their number is lower than what they've done throughout the playoffs. He hasn't gone under 91.5 throughout the playoffs. Mind you, he hasn't played a secondary like this. I love Buffalo, but he killed him. And Tre'Davious White is all world to me, but they find ways. Andy Reid finds ways to make this guy a factor, whether it's the push pass, whether it's motion, whether it's screens, whether it's whatever.
Slotting him.
They find a way to get him in space. Yeah, they find a way to get him in space. And if Kelsey's covered, it's going to Hill. And 91, he can the 91.5 for his over-under. He can literally do that in one play, and we've seen it 100 times. The only problem I have with this prop is the fact that I hate him and I hope he doesn't. Yeah, but he absolutely could. And yeah, I can hate him all I want, but the guy, I mean, he's been a monster in the playoffs. He's been a monster in the playoffs for a couple of years now, and 91.5 seems a little low. But I guess, if they set the number over 100, it would just look gaudy, and that's just, I mean, the last player we've seen with an over 95 was Randy Moss in the 2007 Super Bowl, and I think that was a fluke, obviously, but Tyreek Hill has the ability to go over that. That completely related to that. My second prop, I was going to go Antoine Winfield. I'm going Sean Murphy Bunting for Super Bowl MVP. I did a little research. I was all in on Antoine Winfield at 125 to 1. You bet $10, you win $1,250. That's insane. Sean Murphy Bunting is 200 to 1. Mind you, Antoine Winfield's the bigger name. He's probably the defensive rookie of the year, but Sean Murphy Bunting has an interception in all three of their playoff games this year. And they're not tip passes. He's ball hawking, and he's figured something out. He didn't. I don't think he. I'd have to go back and look. I don't think he had 3 interceptions throughout the year. He's had 1 in every playoff game. I'm expecting 1 more right here, and at 200 to 1 for Super Bowl MVP. He runs one of those back and gets another one. You're looking at a whole lot of money. I mean, $10 wins you $2,000. That's not bad when you don't have to get off your couch and you don't have to catch the pass yourself. I love the Buccaneers pass rush. I love Shaq Barrett. I love Ndamukong Suh, Jason Pierre-Paul, Antoine Winfield. I think a lot of these guys can cause havoc, and I think that it works out well for Murphy Bunting. I think he makes a name for himself. I think he puts himself on everybody's radar going into next season. And 200 to 1. I mean, a dude that's played 3 games and has 3 interceptions. You can't go wrong with that.
And that's a good bet because he is coming on strong. The only issue I have with that is Mahomes makes smart plays. And so you can sit there, you can pressure him all you want. And so I feel like and we've talked about this off air, if Tampa Bay wins the Super Bowl, I think it's going to be, a Leonard Fournette type deal, or it's going to be a defensive member of that team winning MVP. And
yeah, but they don't pay a lot.
Sorry?
Fournette doesn't pay a lot.
Right. And so, but what I'm saying is, I think if it is a defensive player who does win Super Bowl MVP, I think it's going to end up going to somebody who has the ability to get after Mahomes, like physically. It wouldn't just be a situation where, because I feel like Mahomes can sit there and he can take sacks, he can take hits, be pressured, throw it out of bounds. He's got the ability to make last-second dump-offs. And so I think it's going to be a situation where it's going to be one of the guys who's been pressuring Mahomes that ends up winning Super Bowl MVP if Tampa Bay does end up doing it. But I don't think it would be him. And look, as far as the payout goes and everything else, I get why you're making that bet, and I understand that. And I understand that it will probably be a defensive player if Tampa Bay wins, but I just don't think it would be a corner.
He's no
Larry Brown.
Let's be honest. If the Buccaneers win this game, the Super Bowl MVP, no matter what the numbers look like, no matter what happens, the Super Bowl MVP should be Tom Brady, because I fully in my heart believe, as Arian said, he's letting Brady call the shots. So I think that if it's someone like Fournette, if it's someone like Mike Evans, if it's someone like Gronk, I think that it's because of what Brady's doing at the line. And I can't go away from Murphy Bunting, especially I know you love him, against a quarterback who has the most dropped interceptions in the history of the NFL in one season. Patrick Mahomes had 16 dropped interceptions. Guess what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't do? If they get their hands on it, they don't drop it.
That is true. But I mean, you talked about Andy Reid, you talked about his ability to call games. And look, he doesn't, keep guys in coverage and forces guys to make plays. He gets them in space. And so I think that he's, that's just another reason why I don't think it's the safest bet, but,
No,
but it makes sense. It makes sense. I do get it. Yeah, I do get it. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, nobody thinks it's going to happen. That's why it's 200-1. If I wanted something people thought would happen, I'd take Brady. I just got a tweet 2 minutes ago that said that the most popular prop bet of this Super Bowl is Patrick Mahomes to win Super Bowl MVP. Nope. If I had to pick the safest prop bet, I'd pick heads or tails, because I don't have to pick which team wins.
It's got to be tails this year, right?
It's not going to be Beyonce's shoes. I'll tell you that.
Well, that would be really weird if the Weeknd was wearing Beyonce's shoes.
Yeah, well, he might bring out a guest, and you never know. But why don't you give us your pick for the game? Obviously, hang on. We are not going to count this against our record, because I firmly believe we are on opposite sides of the ball on this, and that will ruin everything. But to recap, we are 7-5 in the playoffs, and 66 and something in the regular season. I forget, but it was 58%, 59% in the regular season, 58 in the postseason. That's good money. So why don't you give us your pick for the game?
I'm going Kansas City. I can't bet against them. Look, we've talked about the defense, and I think the one thing that really is not getting talked about in regards to the game is Mitchell Schwartz is probably going to be out. You're already missing Darnay Tardif because he's fighting COVID, not the Buccaneers. And so, credit to him for going out to the front line. But then you're also missing Eric Fisher, who, he might not be Patrick Mahomes, but he was a number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft as he tore his Achilles. And so you're missing those 3 guys. Shaq Barrett, JPP, and Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, William Golston. They're going to get after Mahomes, and so I think that that's going to be a little bit of a pressure situation. And Kansas City hasn't really covered. Granted, 3 points isn't a ton to cover, but Kansas City hasn't really covered the spread well throughout the course of the season. Had a lot of people doubting what they'd be able to do in the postseason. They get to the postseason, they're blowing out Cleveland until Patrick Mahomes goes down, and then they just hold their head above water. And then they beat the crap out of the Buffalo Bills, who a lot of people thought were the second or third best team in the NFL. And so I think
let's be fair. Blowing out Cleveland with a helmet-to-helmet on a stupid rule in the end zone.
Look, they were doing it, though, with Mahomes. And I think that when you kind of look at how Kansas City just kind of flipped the switch for the playoffs, I think it's, too much to bet against them. And I completely agree that Tampa's team, 1 through 53, is better than Kansas City. I just don't know if they make the plays because, Tom Brady's been to the Super Bowl a billion times, and Patrick Mahomes, the entire Kansas City Chiefs have been there. And so I think that that's a situation that bodes well for Kansas City, and that's why I like the Chiefs.
Yeah, and you say, you can't bet against Patrick Mahomes, but on the other side of the ball, how dare you? Because if we've learned anything, ask the Atlanta Falcons, ask Bill Belichick. He bet his season against Brady, and he's watching it. this betting against Brady is not something I'll do. If you shop around, if you use multiple sports books, which I highly, highly recommend because the numbers jump like crazy. I'll tell you briefly. Last week in the golf event, the Farmers Insurance, a couple sports books had a certain player, Tony Finau, to finish top 10 is plus 170. DraftKings had him at plus 225. If you look around, you can get different numbers. If you look around, you can get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at plus 3.5. I think this is a close game. I think 3.5 is a beautiful number. And I'm done picking against Tom. I don't, him being the Wolverine, I should have the man crush like other Wolverine fans do. I don't. I like him. I don't follow the GOAT following like they do. But I do think there's something to be said about a guy that's been there, that's been in these kind of games time and time again, that's making adjustments at the line and can keep that poise, keep that I've been here, follow me mentality. I love Tampa Bay at plus 3.5, and it's not just because of Tom. It's because of that defense. They say defense wins championships. People say, "Oh, that's a thing of the past." Defense, in this case, defense can win championships because this Tampa Bay defense is absolutely loaded, and you've got a quarterback who's been there and weapons all over the field. I love the Buccaneers in this game.
Look, I don't really think that there's a definitive wrong answer to this. When you really break it down, like I think that these two teams are closely enough matched. A lot of people are saying, you go back to that first game and how it ended up being relatively close at the end, and you have people saying, well, look, Tampa Bay was figuring them out. Tampa Bay is, Tom Brady started figuring them out. The defense started figuring them out. But when you look at that, the way the Chiefs have played this season, they've been closer than expected. Like I said, they lost a lot of people a lot of money because they couldn't get to the spread. And I think that's changed with Kansas City. I think they were blowing them out, and then they let their foot off the gas. And so that's another reason why I'm picking Kansas City. I think they were like, you know what, we got this one in the bag. We're going to chill a little bit. We're not going to be as aggressive with our play calls. And I think that's why Tampa Bay got in. I don't think that Tampa Bay was just like, oh, we got this now. Now we figured it out. No, because Tampa Bay was still fighting for their playoff lives. There was a lot of talk early in the season whether or not they'd even make the playoffs. They struggled for a while. They were barely above 500 relatively late into the season before they went on this winning streak. And I think that I think Kansas City just has it figured out.
Yeah, and I mean they had it figured out last year. They're the defending champs, and you got to beat the best to be the best. But I mean, this is a tall task, and I guarantee you that Andy Reid and his coaching staff would much rather see. I'm doing it on purpose. They'd much rather see the Green Bay Packers here.
Oh, absolutely.
And I hope that riles everybody up, but Green Bay's frauds, and I'll go back to that.
Look. Obviously, Green Bay is not Tampa Bay. They're not, and you would rather see Green Bay. They have less weapons offensively, defensively, not even close to what Tampa Bay can bring out. I think that ultimately, though, when you look at this Chiefs defense, like they do really, really well in the playoffs, and it's kind of a weird setup for that because it kind of goes into what I was saying earlier as well, is in regards to the Chiefs letting their foot off the gas. But the last couple of years in the playoffs, they've been really, really good. And I'm not saying they're gonna turn into the 85 Bears or anything else this Sunday. Like, that's obviously not the case, but I think that they've got the ability to step it up when needed. We talked about Bunting's postseason thus far and how he's just absolutely killing it. Brashad Breeland had that season last year. So he's got the ability to step up and make plays. Honey Badger's got the ability to step up and make plays. Sorensen's got the ability to step up and make plays in the defensive backfield. I think. Sorry?
With his helmet. With his helmet.
With or without his helmet, he makes plays. And I think that, you factor that in, you still have an all-pro defensive tackle in the middle. Like, this team is not as bad defensively as people want to put out there. They're not world beaters, but they're not bad as long as they do just enough to keep Mahomes within striking distance. I think Kansas City wins this game.
Yeah, and as much as we've talked about the weapons defensively that Tampa has, and Barrett,
JPP,
and David, and Devin White,
Vita Vea, and Sue,
yeah, it would be a crime to underestimate the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs have probably the best defensive player in this game, in Chris Jones, and an all-world safety in Tyrann Mathieu. I think I can't argue with your side, and it's going to be a good one. And it's.
I got another question for you. What's Steve Spagnuolo's record against Tom Brady in the Super Bowl?
I don't know.
Let's just say he's had success, and I'm not going to say that that's near the same thing. There's a big difference between, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown versus any slot receiver, short white guy that New England ever threw out there. There's a huge difference. But I think that kind of plays into his confidence a little bit in regards to how he's going to call this game and how aggressively he's going to call this game. And I think we're going to be surprised at how Kansas City plays defensively. Yeah,
I think a lot of that, Spagnuolo's been successful pretty much on every level. But, the Brady teams he's seen in the past haven't had the outside weapons that Mike and Chris Godwin are bringing. Brady's a year older.
He's a year older than Spagnuolo?
As Arian said.
I know he's been around for a while. I think he was around that long.
He might be. I don't, these guys are, this group of players that Brady has right now is a little different than what he had in New England. Obviously the New England teams were built on the slot and built on a tight end that's still there, but the deep threats that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin bring are going to make him scratch his head in the film room if he's not doing it right now.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, there's a big difference between Tampa's weapons and what New England always had. But at the same time, I think that this allows you to be a little more aggressive. They have to win. Kansas City has to win this game up front. Does that mean shutting down Fournette and Jones? No. But they have to be dominant when it comes to trying to get to Tom Brady. One of the things that we've talked about is, Tampa's ability to get to Mahomes. Mahomes has that ability to roll out and just make incredible plays. What was it? Against Buffalo, he had like 3 straight sacks that he avoided and made huge plays downfield. Tom Brady doesn't have that ability. So Kansas City has to be, like I said, this is where Spagnuolo's coming in. They can be a little more aggressive. They can send a few more people after Brady. Brady's got the ability to check down. Look, he's smart. He's seen everything. I get it. But if you can have him nickel and dime you, which is ironically where his specialty is, as opposed to beat you downfield, I know that that's kind of reverse of what you want from Brady. But with Evans, Godwin, and Brown, that's a route that you have to take. I think that Kansas City will have success.
I think everything that we've just covered points to the under.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be under unless you get into the fourth quarter and it's like a 3-point game. I think you're going to see them start going for you're going to start seeing both teams kind of go for the jugular a little bit, but That's going to be the only situation.
Yeah. If you bet the over, you better hope that thing's tied at the end of the fourth, because you might need extra time to get there. But yeah, that's gonna do it. It's been a fantastically successful season. We're gonna. I'm not gonna promise, but I'm gonna promise that we're gonna do it again next year.
We'll even cover week 1 next.
But yeah. Maybe not. We did well letting week 1 happen and just kind of figuring things out. But we might even start earlier next year, because my biggest life hack when it comes to betting on football is bet the preseason, because some coaches care and some don't, and Vegas hasn't figured that out yet. But yeah, so we've been successful this year. We'll be successful next year. Stay tuned. We will do a recap on this game and all of our props coming up after. Probably, I'd like to shoot it Monday, but our schedules, they do what they do. So we'll figure that out, but we'll do a recap on this one. We'll do a recap on the season, and then we'll jump into some other stuff. That is the Cover 3 podcast. That's Tyler Hayward, Trouble with the Snap. And stay tuned. As always, we're really good at basketball. We're really good at other sports too. So don't just take our advice on football. Tyler, any final words for our Cover 3 listeners?
It was good to be honest with you. I was kind of hoping you and I could put something together like this, and I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we had the success that we had. Look, one of us is going to win Saturday. And, well, I mean, I know I had a better record than you, but, I mean, you got a shot. It's okay if you lose this one too. Just come back stronger next year.
I think I automatically win this season with Murphy Bunting Super Bowl MVP.
I'll throw it to you.
That's the trump card.
I'll give you a little slack. I know you're not as an experienced gambler as I am, but
yeah, right. Well, maybe not in football, but I've been successful in golf and UFC the last couple of weeks. Tune in. But yeah, that's gonna do it. Trouble with the Snap. We are going forward without professional football, sadly. So you're going to want to tune into Trouble with the Snap for all of your Big Ten.
By the way, I knew Tyler Hayward was going to win Pro Bowl MVP last night. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pro Bowl happened. That's right. It's going to be Sean Taylor.
Rest in peace, Brian Mormon.
That's going to do it.
That too.
Rest in peace, Sean Taylor. That's going to do it. Thank you guys for listening. It's been an awesome, awesome season. Sad it's got to come to an end, but like I said, we will recap. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Don't drink too much, don't eat too much, or do. But bet with us.
Don't fall asleep during Super Bowl.
You will win. Thank you.
Yeah,
I've done that twice now. I fell asleep during 28.
Yeah, that was exciting. That was a good game. You should have seen it.
Yeah.
Falcons didn't hold on.
It's fine. Yeah, every meme told me what happened. But yeah, it's gonna do it. Trouble with the Snap. Flip side. Stay tuned. Thank you guys for listening.